everybody? It is RedJed, right back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results at Bottom Wrestling Rants. Baby! Here we go once again, folks. Welcome back to Wrestling Rants. It's been a few days. Another busy week in my personal life and professional life. Just a lot of stuff going on. Weather's getting better here in Minnesota, so trying to get out and about a little bit more and whatnot. But can't forget about Top 10 Takes. Originally scheduled for Tuesday, we're here on a Thursday, as we're going to kind of fuse the retrospective gimmick and Top 10 Takes together for this one. As we are going to be starting looking back at 4 years of All Elite Wrestling, culminating, of course, with Double or Nothing in just a few weeks, so about 2.5 weeks. I will be in Las Vegas checking that show out, as well as a ton of other shows as part of Full Tilt weekend. Once again, a bunch of promotions, including Game Changer Wrestling, Future Stars Wrestling out of Vegas, etc., etc. They're coming into town. Double or Nothing, of course. Dynamite I'm hoping to make as well. All kinds of shows that will be dropping rant exclusive content right here at Wrestling Rants. So leading up to that, we are going to have a lot of themed rants looking back at All Elite Wrestling's last 4 years. This is going to be the first of many coming down the road here. In fact, we're going to be doing 3 unique Top 10 Takes to celebrate All Elite Wrestling's 4-year anniversary. The first one is going to be right here, where we're going to be talking about the top 10 All Elite Wrestling pay-per-views by my opinion. I'm going to rank them, and we're going to talk about them. So that's coming up here on this rant. Let's just get into a little bit of housekeeping odds and ends. You didn't get, obviously, Top 10 Takes on Tuesday. Midweek must-see matches on Wednesday. What we're going to do with that is we're going to do a little twist and turn on that. We're going to probably get back to that weekly themed on Wednesday nights of the must-see matches every midweek. We'll probably get into that in June. We're going to get back on track with that in June. Until then, we're going to be doing probably around the 15th or 16th of this month, mid-month must-see matches. So we're going to have a comprehensive list on everything from the 1st of May until the 15th of May. So that will include a lot of stuff that's been going on in the world of wrestling. So be looking forward to that next week. Check out that special themed rant. Also, we got coming up a lot of stuff in the retrospective category. Don't forget, we drop special videos from Impact Wrestling in Chicago every night after Impact airs on Access. So tonight, look for some additional videos to be released to the public from those shows after the show airs. So be on the lookout for that as well. Also with retrospective, we will have a couple unique retrospectives looking back at 2 Double or Nothing shows that I've been to personally in Las Vegas. That was Double or Nothing 2019, the first AEW pay-per-view, and Double or Nothing last year, 2022, in separate retrospective rants where I talk about my personal experience at the shows and we break down all the matches as well. So come on back for that retrospective, probably next Thursday. I'm hoping to do a double shot where we will drop both Double or Nothing 2019 rant and Double or Nothing 2022 rant back to back as part of retrospective next week on this day, Thursday, so a week from now. Well, with that said, let's get into the business of Top 10 Takes. As I said, this is going to be the top 10 AEW pay-per-views. Whoa, what is going on with my top 10 takes, folks? Holy cow, there we go. All right, so there has been 4 years worth of AEW pay-per-views, and by and large, every one of these pay-per-views have been above average. So by no means is leaving some of these pay-per-views not making this top 10 takes a knock on the company. Particularly, I think when I did this, just by sheer whatever you call it, nothing got included in this top 10 takes of AEW pay-per-views. None of the pay-per-views that were done during the pandemic era with no to little fans were not included in these ones, just because they were a different beast. Some of them were pretty awesome still, but without that crowd, without that interaction, without that authenticity of the crowds, I couldn't put them in the top 10 things. So there may be some on your end. They're a little different from my end because I did not include pretty much everything. This would be from Double or Nothing 2020 and into that entire year. Double or Nothing 2021, which I also thought was a good show, did not make this list. That was the first one where fans kind of came back to Jacksonville. And then from that point on, AEW is running strong with the crowds again. So just a little background before we get into this list. So let's get into it. Let's rank them. The top 10 AEW pay-per-views to celebrate the 4th year anniversary. Let's talk about it. Number 10. I actually have a tie in number 10. I could not decide which one of these I'd rank in number 10, so I just said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just put them both on there as a tie for number 10. And that is first, Full Gear 2019. You know, there was a lot of misses on the undercard, and there was some hits as well. The crowd was great. I believe this was from Philadelphia, if I recall. And the main event had a lot of, I guess, mixed feelings from a lot of different people. I personally thought it was a great match. This was Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega in a lights-out match, which saw a barbed wire web kind of apparatus and all kinds of wild hardcore spots. Comparing it, I guess, to just the match we saw last night on Dynamite, the steel cage match with Moxley and Kenny Omega, I think the Full Gear main event was probably a notch or two below that quality of that match last night, that steel cage match. I think, quite honestly, Mox and Omega had one of their best matches last night on Dynamite in that cage match. Maybe taking the finish out of it, which was a bit of a deflating kind of finish a bit. But so I went with Full Gear 2019, number 10. I also went with one of a recent AEW pay-per-views that had a lot of stuff after the show, but as far as the show itself, the crux of the show, I could not go very high on this one. And that was All Out 2022. The show itself just couldn't, to me, this was my third All Out that I had been to in Chicago, and to me, this just could not hold a candle to the other two All Outs that I had been to. The top of the card was okay. The Punk Mox match was alright. There was some good stuff here and there, but there was a lot of misses. I felt the ladder match was a miss, the Jungle Boy match, the Hobbs match with Ricky Starks, some of that stuff. But there was some good stuff too. Of course, that tag title match with the Acclaimed and Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland was definitely a gem in the rough that I didn't expect. But had to put this one high. Now, if we would have included the all-out post-scrum and all the shit that happened after that, the fallout from this show, maybe it would have been ranked higher. But we're talking the pay-per-view itself. Very disappointing looking back on this one. Let's talk about number 9, Revolution 2020. This was another pay-per-view from Chicago, from the Wintrust Arena. And this one will always be kind of known to me or connected in some way as the last big pay-per-view of any wrestling promotion. That I think it was this one, and maybe if I recall, was there an NXT pay-per-view around end of February, early March time? And I can't remember if WWE did Fastlane as well. I believe they may have around that time, but this was one of the last pay-per-views before the pandemic hit, before COVID changed all of our lives. And what a pay-per-view it was. Moxley Jericho match. Then there was some good undercard stuff. I believe this was the show that had that fantastic match with Omega and Page against the Bucks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the show. I just remember this show hitting on a lot of cylinders. And like I said, changing the guard with Jericho's long AEW title run for the first champion, and then Jon Moxley taking over in this one in the main event. Number 8, All Out 2019. This was my second AEW pay-per-view that I'd been to live. And there definitely was some strong stuff. That Bucks and Lucha Brothers match was definitely something. Pac and Omega was actually a pretty damn good match looking back. So there was some good shit in there, for sure. I think looking back, the Adam Page and Chris Jericho match was very underwhelming. And I think that's really what hurt this one. But this was a jacked crowd. This was my first show at the what's now known as the Now Arena. It used to be the Sears Center and different iterations. But a really good crowd, really anticipated card. But if you recall, right before this card hit, there was some stuff that happened. I think Moxley got injured. So there was the injury bug was going around, and Moxley, if I recall, was supposed to take on Omega. And that didn't happen, obviously, in this one. So, all in all, still a fun show being out live. It was my second AEW pay-per-view I'd ever been to. It was the second AEW pay-per-view in history as well. So there's some historic value there. Number 7, Double or Nothing of last year. I also was at this show. And I was ringside, as a matter of fact. And we had, I think, 7th row ringside or something like that on the floor. So from an aesthetic point, from a live event perspective, which I'll get into when I do the retrospective rant on this show, it was cool. It was fun. It was a fun event. But looking back, there definitely was some matches that made me scratch my head a little bit, like the Wardlow MJF stuff. But the Anarchy in Arena was fun. I think looking back, I can't say that Page and Punk was a Matt classic by any means. It was all right, but there was definitely some tension now that we know, looking back at these two guys in the main event. That might explain why that main event didn't hit as well as it could with Punk getting the world title from Adam Page in that main event. Undercard was up and down. There was some good, there was some bad. But I felt overall, again, on paper, maybe came off better than it came off in the live in the arena and on pay-per-view. Let's get into number 6, Revolution 2023. This was the most recent pay-per-view of All Elite Wrestling, and this was a strong pay-per-view by all means. We had the main event. The undercard was rolling pretty well. What else can you say? That Iron Man match was something else for sure. Yeah, it really held up well, and really just a strong card from top to bottom on this one. However, I went a little bit better with the previous year's Revolution 2022. Oh man, that Punk MJF dog collar match. There was so much good shit in this one. I felt like top to bottom, this was a very, very strong pay-per-view. And a little trivia note from me personally, from my personal experience. This was the first AEW pay-per-view I actually saw in a theater, which I think heightened the experience for me as well. But yeah, just a really booked card. The matchups were strong. Everything got time. It was a long pay-per-view, if I recall, but it really was pretty damn strong overall. The Adam Cole match was also pretty good on the top of the card. Really, there was next to nothing on this pay-per-view that you can really say was disappointing. Number 4. This is AEW's first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing 2019. Because my mask is itching me like crazy. But wow, just a historical pay-per-view. I was live at this one as well. The Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes match. What can you say about that, man? What can you say about that? What can you say about Jericho and Omega? How about Jon Moxley's return to wrestling and debut in AEW. How about the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers once again stealing part of the show? At least that was one of the best matches on the show. I think it still wasn't as good as Cody and Dustin Rhodes, which, by the way, another rant coming up down the road, probably the week before Double or Nothing. We're going to take a look back on the top 10 takes on the top 10 matches of Double or Nothing shows. So something to look forward to there. A little breakdown of all of the matches of Double or Nothing history, what ranks in the top 10. But yeah, Double or Nothing 2019 was definitely, from being there, just a spectacle of a show. I mean, we didn't know what to expect getting into it, going into it, and what we got out of it was something really special for that first pay-per-view in AEW. How about number 3? This was yet another show that I have been to. In fact, the rest of these, I have been to all these shows. And this one was Full Gear 2021 from Rayner, Minnesota, Minneapolis, the Target Center. Again, like a strong top to bottom show. Opened up with MJF and Darby Allin. We got Miro and Daniel Bryan. We got a 6-man with the Bucks and Adam Cole against Lucha Express. What else was there? There's just so much good heat. The match with Jericho's crew and Dan Lambert's crew. We had, obviously, Adam Page and Kenny Omega. We had CM Punk, Eddie Kingston. What am I missing? I don't know, but it was a solid pay-per-view with one awesome match after another. I thought at the time when I got out of this show, I thought, okay, this may have been the best AEW pay-per-view I'd ever been to, and maybe one of the best live pay-per-views I'd been to as well, including WrestleManias at the time. Looking back, it still holds up pretty well. The crowd was great. The only thing on my side that was a bit of a downer was I was sick as a dog during this show, but it still didn't deter my enjoyment being there live at the Target Center. Number 2, last year's Forbidden Door pay-per-view with cooperation with New Japan Pro Wrestling. We had great seats for this show. I wish I had the other channel so we can look back at all these awesome shows and all the big videos, big moments from these shows. I'm hoping to replay and drop some of these videos down the road, but I'm trying to see if I can even do that, because there's a thing on YouTube where you really aren't supposed to be duplicating videos from another channel. So we'll see if I can do that or not. That's been pretty much the hold up here with trying to drop some old content from some of these shows that were on the old Wrestling Rants channel onto this one. So keep tuned on here. We'll see if we can make it happen. But yeah, this show was just being there live. And I remember going into it a bit skeptical because, once again, similar to like all of 2019 and such, this show was marred with injuries and all kinds of issues with talent, not being able to get in and stuff. So a lot of the card was changed from its original intention. But damn, I'll be honest with you, this show incredibly overachieved from top to bottom, I think. Even the pre-show matches I had fun with on this one. Then we get to number 1, and you can probably guess which one takes number 1, breaking down these pay-per-views. That is All Out 2021. It's still the benchmark. Solid show, lots of surprises. Obviously, Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson. I still can't get used to that name shift 2 years into it. Suzuki showed up, and just so many surprises on this show. And yeah, obviously the return of CM Punk was a big deal here against Darby Allin. It was just a momentous show, and being there live, it was an absolute treat to be at live. It was just so much fun from top to bottom. What a fucking show that was. So that's it, breaking down my feelings on the rankings of the top, it ended up being the top 11 AEW pay-per-views of all time. What are your feelings on what are the best pay-per-views in AEW history by your thoughts? Throw some comments on this video. I'd like to get into some discussion with y'all about what y'all feel were the best AEW pay-per-views of all time. Alrighty, come on back here. We're going to be doing some stuff tomorrow. We got a versus Ring of Honor versus Impact coming up. We got some stuff on the weekend, laying the round down. There's a lot more industry news to talk about for sure. Then we move into next week. Like I said, we got that mid-month must-see matches, probably on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to have a special mega rant as well. All kind of stuff coming through next week as we get closer and closer to Double or Nothing 2023, which I will be at in Las Vegas that week. See you all right back here for some more Wrestling Rants, baby!